Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredibly fascinating and honestly kind of unsettling science of human attention. If you're someone who prides yourself on being super observant, well, you might want to brace yourself because we're going to explore exactly how our minds constantly filter, intensely edit, and sometimes completely fabricate our reality entirely behind the scenes. So, let me ask you something. Do you truly see the world exactly as it is right now? I mean, most of us would confidently say yes, right? We trust our eyes implicitly. But as we're about to see, the science of cognitive psychology tells a very, very different story. Your brain is actually running a grand illusion, presenting you with this seamless version of reality that is missing massive amounts of information.
All right, let's get right into it with Section 1, Two Systems of Attention. Okay, let's dive into this. To understand this grand illusion, we really need to look at how the brain manages sensory overload, and it does this using two very distinct systems. First up, we have stimulus-driven attention. This is your automatic primal radar. It actually develops in the first 4 months of life. It's what hijacks your focus when there's a sudden noise or a quick movement. Imagine you're deeply engaged in a conversation at a bar, but there's a TV playing a football game just above your friend's head. Your eyes keep darting to the screen. You literally can't help it. Movement instinctively captures this automatic attention. Conversely, we have controlled attention. This is your active, conscious choice. Think of it like shining a flashlight in a dark house. You are deciding exactly where to point the beam. So, if you're at a deafeningly loud cocktail party, it's controlled attention that allows you to actively tune out the background noise and focus on one single voice.
For a long time, the scientific community relied heavily on this traditional theory. It basically argued that attention exists simply as a defense mechanism. The idea was that the brain has a limited processing capacity, so it just has to filter out the noise to avoid a total sensory overload. But scientists are now pivoting to an absolutely fascinating alternative theory. This new perspective suggests that attention isn't just about filtering out noise at all. It's an action preparation mechanism. Under this theory, when we get ready to perform a task, our attention acts as an integral part of the action itself. It's essentially scanning for only the exact information needed to execute the move and ignoring the rest.
Which brings us to Section 2, the camera illusion.
So how does all this build into our everyday visual experience? Because let me tell you, the way we think our eyes work and the way they actually work are worlds apart. Just 2 degrees. That tiny little number completely shatters the common misconception that our vision is like a flawless, high-definition video camera. In reality, the area of true sharp focus in your visual field is shockingly small. It is only about 2 degrees of visual angle. To put that into perspective, just hold 2 fingers out at arm's length. That tiny sliver of space, that is the only part of the world you are actually seeing in sharp, clear focus right now. Everything outside of that is surprisingly blurry, and your ability to even perceive color drops off significantly in your periphery.
So you're probably wondering, why does the world look so perfectly sharp and colorful all the time? Psychologists actually call this the refrigerator light metaphor. You know how when you open a refrigerator, the light is on, so you just kind of assume the light is always on even when the door is closed? Well, your brain does the exact same thing with your eyes. Wherever you fix your gaze, that 2 degrees spotlight shifts, providing sharp detail in that exact instant. Your brain stitches these rapid moments together, basically tricking you into believing the entire picture is in high definition all at once. It's an incredible illusion.
And the glitches definitely don't stop at blurriness. We actually have physical hardware gaps called blind spots. Deep inside your eye, there is a section on the retina completely void of light receptors. This creates a literal hole in your vision where you are entirely blind. Yet you never notice it because your brain just Photoshop fills this empty space using context clues from the surrounding environment. Now, this isn't just a fun parlor trick. It has massive real-world consequences. Because of these blind spots and the brain's habit of filling in the blanks, looking without seeing ranks as the 3rd most common cause of traffic accidents. You can be actively looking for oncoming cars at an intersection, but if a vehicle happens to fall perfectly into your blind spot, your brain just edits it out completely. You literally will not see a 1-ton machine heading your way.
Moving right along to Section 3, missing the invisible gorilla.
This brings us to what happens when our controlled attention is pushed to its absolute limits. If we're concentrating hard enough, we can actually go entirely blind to the obvious. In high-stress environments, intense focus creates severe tunnel vision. For example, if someone witnesses a crime and the perpetrator is holding a weapon, the witness's stimulus-driven attention is instantly and uncontrollably hijacked by the threat. All of their cognitive resources lock onto the weapon. The result? The witness will likely have zero recollection of the attacker's face. The brain simply didn't allocate any attention to record those details, rendering eyewitness testimonies in these situations highly unreliable. And this brilliantly illustrates the most famous experiment on this phenomenon. You may have actually heard of it. Researchers showed a video of 6 people passing a basketball. 3 in white shirts, 3 in black. Viewers were told to count the exact number of passes made by the team in white. It requires pretty intense concentration. Right in the middle of the video, a person in a full gorilla suit strolls right into the frame, faces the camera, beats their chests, and just walks away. Shockingly, the vast majority of people watching completely missed the giant ape. Because their controlled attention was entirely consumed by counting passes, their brain literally deleted the gorilla from their conscious awareness. Wild, right? Let's look at how this is used in practice in Section 4, The Magician's Secret. If our brains are really this easy to hack, you better believe professionals have figured out exactly how to exploit it. Magicians don't do real magic. They do applied cognitive psychology. The core mechanism they use is called misdirection. Remember how we discussed that moving objects automatically capture our stimulus-driven attention? Well, magicians weaponize this. If a magician wants to hide what their left hand is doing, they're going to make a sudden, fluid movement with their right hand. Your biological programming forces your eyes to track the moving hand, making you totally blind to the trick happening right in front of your face. Let me tell you about a legendary example by the illusionist David Berglas. He was tasked with making an entire piano disappear during a hotel dinner. So he starts by announcing he's going to make the crystal chandeliers on the ceiling vanish. Immediately, all eyes go up. He has an accomplished flicker the lights, and a planted woman in the crowd lets out a scream. Maximum stimulus-driven attention captured. While everyone is staring up at the ceiling in a total panic, his assistants casually walk onto the stage, dismantle a pre-cut piano, and just carry it out a side door. When Berglas snaps the audience's attention back to the stage, the pianist goes to play and falls flat on his face. The piano is just gone. The trick happened in plain sight, but because the audience's attention was elsewhere, the piano essentially vanished into thin air. Finally, let's explore Section 5, when half the world vanishes. We've talked a lot about everyday illusions and magic tricks, but to truly grasp the raw power of attention, we need to look at what happens when the system physically breaks down. There is a severe medical condition known as visual neglect, typically caused by a stroke in the right parietal lobe of the brain. When this happens, patients completely lose the ability to attend to the left side of their visual field. Now, I want to be really clear here. Their eyes are perfectly fine. They are not physically blind. But the attention software in their brain has crashed. To their conscious mind, the left side of reality simply ceases to exist. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how this manifests in daily life. It is utterly mind-bending. A patient with visual neglect will sit down to eat and only consume the food on the right half of their plate. They are completely unaware that there is a left half of the plate still full of food. If a nurse rotates the plate 180 degrees, the patient will suddenly say, "Oh, more food," and keep eating. When asked to draw a clock, they'll squeeze all 12 numbers onto the right side, leaving the left half entirely blank. They'll even dress only the right side of their body, leaving the left side bare. Literally half of their universe has been deleted. But here is where the science gets truly fascinating. If you were to throw an object at a visual neglect patient from their blind left side, they will instinctively duck. So the absolutely crucial point is this. The eyes saw the object, their primal brain processed the threat, and executed a defensive action. But the patient's conscious mind had absolutely no idea why they ducked. It proves that our visual hardware is always recording, but without the spotlight of attention, that information never makes it into our conscious reality. Which leaves us with a rather unsettling thought to end this explainer. You have a tiny 2-degree window of focus. You have literal blind spots, you can easily miss a giant gorilla in the room, and magicians play your visual cortex like a finely tuned instrument. So, look around you. If your brain is constantly editing, stitching, and filtering out reality to protect you from sensory overload, what obvious things are you completely failing to notice in the room around you right this very second? Keep your eyes open, and I'll catch you next time.